Okay, this is going to be a couple short videos on how I'm going to convert my KR2 from a Nosedragger to a Taildragger. If you haven't watched some of my other videos, you can check it out, see how we got in this situation. While I'm having to rebuild the airplane, it just makes sense to rebuild it the way I want it. So making a lot of modifications, and this gear configuration change is just one of them. So I'll try to keep these to about 5 minutes long. There shouldn't be more than 4 or 5 videos. Today we're going to try to get the gear off and kind of see what the situation is, how much work this is going to be. In theory, you can just take the gear and swap them from side to side, and you end up with the nose wheel configuration. So we'll see. This is, the Taildragger configuration. So this is what we have now. We have a gear that's mounted on the back of the spar. Spar ends here, and they cant backwards and out. What we should end up with is a wheel that ends up moving to about here, and once we get in here I'll film some more, but there's a bracket mounted on the rear of the spar. It'll get mounted on the front. Right now this is my best guess of the cuts I have to make. If I have to drill new holes when I move the gear to the other side, then that's going to mean removing a large portion of this leading edge, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, we got the left gear, actually this right gear opened up. So let me show you what we got here. So now this wing is scratch built, so I got a lot of foam in there that was used for shaping. So these bolts, there's 3 here, and then there's some buried in the fiberglass and foam on the top. So it looks like I'm gonna have to remove this whole section for one reason, to get to those bolts, and the other is it looks like the bottom bolts are symmetrical, but the top bolts, there's one on that corner, there's one down under the brace here, and then there's one on the other side. So when I flip this to the other side, I will have to drill new holes. Probably these upper holes will line up, but the bottom ones are not going to. So anyway, the other thing have learned is be really careful on how deep you go with your cutter. I'm actually going to put in a piece. I'll cut this back to here, and I'll put in a 1/4 inch piece of birch ply, or 1/8 inch piece of birch plywood in here with T88 to kind of build that back up. I probably don't have to. This spar is way stronger than it, it's probably 10 times stronger than it needs to be, but anyway, so I'll correct that with a piece of 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch birch. Yeah, I've got some 1/8 inch birch I'll glue in there. So anyway, I will show you more when I get a little farther along here. Okay, just a real quick update. 2 things that if you're building an airplane or you're modifying an airplane, these are tools that I use all the time, and really helpful. It's the Stanley Fat Max. It's a laser, and it does vertical and horizontal, and it's self-leveling. So if you need, that's how I did the invasion stripes on the airplane. That's why they looks so perfect is that laser doesn't lie. The other thing is this Pro 360 digital protractor. Between those two tools, I mean, I use those a lot. So so I've marked where I'm going to cut around the leading edge, but I'm going to use this piece of aluminum here to bend around and make the final line on both sides before I cut. So we'll come back when I got that done. So got my cuts made with my handy dandy aircraft modifier, angle grinder. So we're going to try to get this off. I actually had fiberglass on the inside of the wing, so I had to get in there and cut that too. Just a hacksaw blade should do it. And run into fiberglass again. So, as long as this is open back here, I think this thing will just pop right off. Just give it a little tug here. Okay. Maybe give a little shove with a hammer. And down in here. There we go. Piece of conduit running across here that's there we go. Alright, so there we go. Now I'm going to have to dig out this these bolt heads. These bolt heads will be in this foam here. Well, I'm not seeing them. Well, there's one. There's one. They're buried in here. So anyway, you get the idea. I've just about got it to the point where I can remove this gear. And I'm going to replace these plastic brake lines with 1/4-inch aluminum lines, Cleveland brakes. I'm going to sell these wheels and brakes. These are Matco. So anyway, I'm also going to replace this. This is, I think, a 3/4-inch inside diameter, and it was getting really tight. So this is going to become probably 1.5 inch, so I never have to have an issue with pulling pitot lines or wires through this thing. Here's what it looks like on the end. So it's getting a little full there, you see. hard to pull things through. So anyway, I'll be back in a little bit when I get this thing off. Alright, everything's loose. Time to pull this thing out of here. They don't make hammers like they used to. Alright, got one bolt holding this up. Always one. Never fails. There's always one. There it goes. Alright, one gear removed. So, on the other side, it's going to look like that. That should be right. We're going to find out. So, I better get started on the other side. Okay, so got the gear here and I'm taking some measurements. These holes, I don't think they came pre-drilled. And the reason I say that is I've got 4 1/8, actually 4 1/4 there, and I've got 4 1/16 there, and that is exactly 8. So I've got the ability to weld aluminum. Now this is cast. I'm thinking that I might, instead of messing with the holes in the spar, that I might just re-drill the holes in the bracket. I'll have to see when I get the other one off, but these holes don't look like they were cast into this thing. It must have been drilled by the builder. Anyway, we'll get an update when I get the other one out. Okay, so got the other gear off.
They were right there for us. It was pretty impressive.
And probably if I was to do this again, I would actually leave this glass in place, not cut across the spar. This side's a little bit different, a lot less foam. This is the wing walk side. So, I got to think about this. Looking at the gear, the holes kind of roughly line up. You can see, but not exactly, and not good enough to be able to just flip it to the other side and put it together. So I have to decide how I want to handle this. I think most people fill the holes in the spar and re-drill new holes, but I don't know yet. So I think that's gonna end it for today, and I need to order new hardware to mount the bolts. I got some repairs to do before I actually start bolting things up. I think what I'm going to do on this conduit is I drilled it out with a hole saw, and I'm just going to take a piece of dowel and make a thin fiberglass tube. It'll be much lighter than the stuff I took out. This stuff, it's actually pretty heavy. Just a single layer of fiberglass to make a tube would be much lighter and work just as well, and with the bigger hole give me more room. So anyway, so that's going to be it for today. Next video, well, we'll just see how this goes. So thanks for watching.